Hello, welcome back to the Fly to the Next podcast. We're here this morning with myself. I'm Jonathan here in Rotorua. You can see there's Denise in the orange, repping her WNBL jersey. She's down there in Lake Taupo, and our good friend Holly, half of the little corner of yellow, half of the core group, the instigators. Is over there in Sydney. So it's a little bit early in Sydney. So Holly's, just kind of woken up not long ago. It's a little bit later here because we've got the time difference. So we're good to go. Question number one, Denise, how was your Nixmas?
How was Christmas? Oh, Nixmas. Oh, we had a delightful time. Lots of Kiwis hanging around. I really hustled to get my cards ready for Haley Davison and Mania Elliott, and wrote those out, bought those cards, wrote those out, and gave them to you, Jonathan, who was traveling down to the match.
Cool. Holly, how was Christmas? Anything special? Family?
Not too bad. Went and spent Christmas with friends because I got to see family on Tuesday in Brisbane, so that'd be good. And for the record, I'm only one small cog in the little corner of yellow because we're massive at the moment.
There was an interesting tweet that Holly put up the other night at the Sydney game, and literally the little corner of yellow was bigger than the Sydney home group. The Cove. There were more little corner of yellow supporters than there were Cove supporters at one point. So big ups to the little corner.
We've actually managed to do that. It seems to be like my favorite genre of tweet is mocking home actives because we've got more than them. For the men's games, we definitely don't have more than Wanderers or Sydney FC, but both times this season for the women's game, we've had more. And I think that's disappointing. I think that the home active section should always have more people than the away fans. MacArthur is the men's team that does that, and oh boy, they were salty when they saw that tweet, because there were I counted, there were 59 of us in the away area, and there were like 30 in the bullpen, and it's like, you guys, people should be able to do better than that. Like, I mean, it's a traveling contingent, it's people who live here, which isn't that many Knicks fans that live in Sydney. Like, sure, there's a few, but not as many as there should be fans of your own club. And then some travellers.
Good on you, Holly.
Oh, boy, the bullpen were fucking salty when they saw that. Called us all sorts of names.
I mean, supporters groups are really important, and it's great. You guys are showing up. It's a struggle for Jonathan and I, because I live in Taupo and Jonathan lives in Rotorua, and it's a haul to make it to these matches. And at least, Jonathan, you have a direct flight. I don't even have a direct flight. It's either like 7 hours in the car or 2 flights for me. So I applaud you guys to show up, and super jealous of when I see you at the match blowing up sheep, Holly.
I mean, look, it's not actually that far for the New South Wales games for people who live in Sydney. The longest trip is Canberra, and I think that's 3.5 hour drive. So that's easily doable in a day. I mean, it's distance wise, it's quite far because you just get on a motorway and it's pretty straight. You don't have to wind through every 50 kilometre an hour town on State Highway 1 or State Highway 2. So that definitely makes a difference. But everything for New South Wales and ACT is just an easy drive. Just meet Dean, get in Dean's car. All the other things, like the max hour and a half. So it's definitely handy to be able to drive.
So speaking of away support, I think I might have been the only person at the Knicks versus Newcastle Jets game that was actually supporting Newcastle. Well, one player from Newcastle. So So our Christmas consisted of driving basically near Wellington, me jumping on a train and going to that match, which was absolutely fantastic. Best start to Christmas. And 2,500 people turned out for that match, which was really good because the Yellow Fever timed it. So they did their going around the pubs and then arrived in time for the women's game. So, and they made a big racket. The Yellow Fever were making some good noise. So, full credit to active support.
Yeah, to do 12 pubs plus 2 games, that's a lot because, I mean, I assume they did it last year as well, but I'm not sure whether that was a double header. I'm not sure. Kudos to everybody who made the 2 games and the 12 pubs. That's quite an achievement.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Mark Redan's wife will be asking questions around why their credit cards maxed out after he bought around for, what he thought there was a few people in the pub and offered to buy the Yellow Fever some beers, and then more and more people turned up, and $856 later.
Apparently, he had to tell people that they were only allowed to have beers. I mean, he gets paid enough that he can cop that, but it is pretty funny. If he didn't show up and buy us any beers, but that's all right.
The chief got asked about buying beers, and he said no too. So maybe Mark's not so bad. Anyway, on to the actual football. So the first game was on the 23rd of December, and that was the Phoenix Women versus Newcastle Jets. Phoenix Women won the game 2-0, dominated the first half, and then the rain came down at about halftime, and then it was like watching slip and slide out there. Players were struggling to hold their feet, struggling to keep on the ball. It was a good win to the Knicks. What did you both see?
It was a relief to bounce back after the Adelaide loss. It was the same kind of feeling after the men lost to the Jets and then bounced back with their win. No, it was the other way around. Anyway, the men had a disappointing loss and then they bounced back. And the women have managed to do the same thing, which looks and feels really, really, really good to see that there's like mental resilience in both of those teams. So yeah, it was a relief to see that that come to pass.
Denise?
Yeah, they started feeling like, that sort of believe kind of feeling. I started really believing that they were a top tier team at that match. I'm like, wow, yeah, like they're in it to win it. That it's not, a few of you were like, they'll be in the middle of the pack this year, and that's what we should, kind of resign ourselves to. By the way, I didn't say that. I said I didn't know until I actually saw them. And when they hit that game, I was like, oh my God, we could have a winner here, like a total winner. And you start looking at the standings and the table and you're like, oh, this isn't just a fluke that they're just doing well right now. There's momentum going.
And Merry Nixmas to us because Isabel Cox came on in the second half, and we were all like, yeah, let's see how she goes. We don't want to overplay our hand or overstate how good we think she is or isn't. And she's turned up to play. Like, she has turned up to play. I think she's either the second or third tallest player in the team, because so Zoe McMeekin still is the tallest and probably always will be, unless she switches to volleyball or some other sport. But Isabel Cox is right up there as far as height. Physically, she's strong, and she's confident. Not egotistical or selfish on the ball, but confident. There was one point though where I thought, oh, she should have laid that ball off. Like, if she had laid it off, that would have been a definite goal. We could have gone up, 3-0. But hey, Merry Nixmas to us.
Yeah, I mean, she's coming off of University of North Carolina. We've talked about that before. It's one of the top. I mean, this year they didn't do that well, but in general, they're top 3 programs in the United States. And the college season ends, and instead of just like twiddling your thumbs, seeing how you're going to do in the college draft, some of these athletes, Madison Haley, I think, did it last year, just said, I'm gone. It's time for me to go be pro. And I don't need this extra semester or whatever I'm in the middle of right now. Like, I'm gone. And I'm going to go show people how good I am by playing in the A-League. And kudos to the Knicks for actually like picking her up.
It's a smart career decision. And there's obviously quite a few people who are, or if they're not getting a lot of game time at their current club, as is some of the rest of our Americans, it just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And we're glad to have them.
Yeah. And once again, Mariana Speckmeyer in that Newcastle game, she got that. Hope Breslin got the penalty, won the penalty, and Speckmeyer just was so clean and putting it in the net. She's all over the pitch. She's working hard. She's running hard. She's class.
Yeah, she's really good. However, she's missed a few key ones that have just like broken my heart, because I feel like I'm her biggest fan. I'm like, yes, let's keep going. So she was born in Miami. So she also is essentially American. She went to, I want to say Florida. I can't even remember now. I have to check that, but she's really good. And she's just going around people and cutting through and making quality passes and shooting at the goal. And there's been a few that she will have nightmares, but she seems to kind of shake it off quick. I don't know how to say it. She doesn't, after she screws up, like doesn't put it in. I mean, she doesn't get all drama queen. She's just like, probably should have put that in, and then she just keeps going. And that's actually how you want it to be. I mean, us fans can like get personally wrapped up in this or that, but she just keeps going.
You want people who can shake it off and just go again. That's the sign of a good sports person, that they can shake it off and go again. And I think where you see people getting frustrated tends to be the younger players, because they lack that experience. So it is good that she shakes it off, but we can talk about that miss that happened on Friday.
Yeah, and I think what you just mentioned, Holly, it's the younger players. I think we saw that in the Adelaide match. We saw it in the second half against the Newcastle match, and then we saw it again in a bit of the first half against the Sydney match. The younger players just mentally are just not quite there, and giving away silly fouls, like shirt tugs and throwing the ball away and things like that. It's like, they're good players, but if to get to great, it's less around the foot skill, and it's around that mental capability and that mental ability to really just stay in the game. And we've seen the Knicks go kind of this up and down wave, and when we're at the top of the wave, they're absolutely superb, and then when we come down to the bottom of the wave, it's like, oh, there goes a yellow card for nothing in particular. But yeah, so yeah, we won that game 2-0. It was just a little anecdote. So I messaged, because we were doing Christmas cards, so we did Christmas cards for the team. Little Corner of Yellow were able to distribute theirs at the game in Aussie, and the rest of us did ours in Wellington. And I messaged Chico during the week, and I was like, hey, we're doing Christmas cards for all the Knicks team. Would you mind if we write you one and one for your parents? She said, oh, it's cool. So, right, okay. So the Friday night before the game, I messaged Chico's mum, and I was like, hey, there's a Christmas card coming, but I'm going to do something else. Didn't say what the something else was. Get to the stadium, teams are doing their warm-ups, they walk off the field. I'm like, right, now's the time. So I put the sign up, Chico Club. And then the players are walking out, and they're holding the kids' hands, walking across the field. I'm like, hey, Chico! She turns around, she's like, oh my God, there's a sign. And then her mum messages me because she'd seen it on TV, going, oh my God, that's so funny. So that was really cool. And then at the end of the game, met up with Brody, who's one of our contributors, and we went and stood in the autograph pen and gave out the Christmas cards to the players. And the one player who was the most touched and blown away was Hayley Davison, who quite clearly said that there was, she was away from family for Christmas, and so she really appreciated the thought that someone was saying, hey, Hayley, we're thinking of you, so Merry Christmas. So kudos to you for that card, Denise. Yeah. When I mentioned you were from SoCal, that also made it. She was like, oh, a fellow American. Anyway, let's leap forward a week, and then we have the Phoenix versus Sydney match, which was played 2 nights ago now, but 2 days ago. And what were your thoughts on that one, Holly? Should we start with you, or should we start with? Yeah, let's go with you.
It was a game that we could have gotten a point out of. We weren't great for long stretches of the game, and Sydney got off a lot of shots, although most of them weren't on target. I really think we could have gotten a point out of that, and there was one particular chance right at the end of the game where Speckmeyer had a free header, and it went over the bar, which was probably the most painful moment of the whole game, because a striker should be doing better than that. But it was, look, we had a really good crowd. We had pre-drinks before. We had the Frasers there, the Lakes were there. We ran into the Elliots. At the match, there was a Speckmeyer crew there. Her sister was at the game. So there were, quite a few family members and things like that, which was really nice to go and to meet them, or to see them again if we'd already met them. That was really nice. So we actually had a good crowd, not as good as the crowd that showed up for the men's game, which is one of my bugbears, but we had a good crowd. We made lots of noise. One of the good things about having a small home active is that it's quite easy to be heard, not necessarily on the broadcast, because where they place the microphones might not be conducive to where we're actually sitting and making noise, but they can hear us, and that does mean a lot to them. So yeah, I'm a bit frustrated that we didn't get a point out of that. But look, it's Sydney FC and it's away, and they're an excellent team, and they might not be far up on the table right now, but they do have games in hand, so they're going to be contenders. They're always contenders, so that's a tough result. And we were lucky to get a win against them away earlier in the year, right at the beginning of the year. We were very lucky, so it kind of evened out maybe. No, I don't know. I'm just trying to make an excuse for that. We lost it. It is what it is.
Denise?
Oh, that Speckmeyer moment. You're taught to head it down, and so head it down, because it's just hard for the keeper to get it. The keeper's always like this, up in the air. But if you head it down, you're not. At least you're going to get a shot on goal with that. It was a fun match. I didn't hear the commentary. I had it turned down, but just watching it seemed like a back and forth, exciting match to watch. So there was the Knicks were playing the small ball that they do, the high percentage sort of passing around, and that has been a strategy that really has worked for them this year. Kudos to the coach for implementing that. I think the fewer turnovers, the better in this league, and that's been good. It just, let's talk about the defense. I think Michaela Foster did very well.
Barry as well.
Mackenzie Barry is always good. Geez, she's always good. Bex Lake, Of course, Haley Davidson went down with I don't know if her nose is in one piece still. And I think Zoe was a little, I don't want to say surprised to come in, but she had a big job with Sydney, probably one of the biggest jobs of the year, with who they had coming in. Jonathan, you want to?
Yeah, it was interesting what you're saying, Denise, around turnovers, because there was a number of times when Sydney were just playing counterattack. And when they got the break, they were away down the field. And so Michaela Foster was doing a lot of work that in other matches she wouldn't do, because Sydney they were coming full. And so the return of Mackenzie Hawkesby to Sydney FC, that was a different Sydney FC to the one that's been playing in the last previous 8 rounds. Like Mackenzie Hawkesby come back. Princess Abini suddenly found her boots. Like, holy cow, she was amazing. Courtney Vine has gone from being, she was playing good football to stepping up again. And so Mackenzie Hawkesby. So our defenders did a fantastic job against what I think is, but I think between those 3, potentially the best frontline outfit, apart from maybe Melbourne City. I think they're on par with each other. But yeah, Mackenzie Barry, like, wow, Michaela Foster. I mean, there were people saying, Zoe, the old social media, because everyone's an expert. Zoe McMeekin should be on ahead of Michaela Foster. It's like, no, actually, Michaela Foster knows how to read Vine. She knows how to shut down that Sydney offense. She did it last year. McMeekin's fantastic. She plays with a lot of energy, but I don't think she's quite there with the smarts yet, like Foster has intuitively on how to read the game and how to shut down those offensive plays. But I'm really excited around Rebecca Lake. I think in the game against Newcastle, she's got her and Mac Barry are becoming quite a tight 2 there, and they're really working well together. Kate in front of them, there's a little triangle there. And then Bex played well against Sydney too. So, yeah, and just quietly, and nothing against Hayley Davison, but maybe she needs a break. And, maybe this whole nose thing could be a good thing if she sits down. But the problem is, I don't know that the Knicks have another specialist right back to slot in. Am I being too hard?
I mean, Zoe can play right or left back. That's for sure. I've seen her play both. The other sort of specialist right back we'd have is Mackenzie Barry, who we don't want to move. So I don't know. I mean, I spoke to Hayley after the game and she seemed fine. So I think she'll be back.
Just one big talking point that we missed out of the Newcastle game, and that was Riley Foster collecting the goalpost with the back of her head. She went for the save. She went for the save to her right, landed on the ground. The ground was slippery. Normally, you'd stop if the grass was dry. She went into a slide and bang, collected the back of her head. So she had a week off. So Bree Edwards came in and played the Sydney game. We're not losing anything by having either of those keepers. They are both very, very good keepers.
The only dilemma is, playing in actual matches makes you sharper. And so I worry about Bree, just showing up as sharp as, she would in a normal, if she's playing every week kind of situation. But she's hungry. I mean, I'm sure she's not happy sitting the bench. Like, if just knowing her confidence and just knowing her vibe, like she earned it last year, and but she's ready to play, and I don't know if she could have done anything about that goal that went by her.
I have to say, I think Zoe should have done better for that goal.
100% agree.
Zoe's like at least a head taller than Dos Santos. Dos Santos got in front of her and got a header away, and Zoe's just sort of behind her. And maybe it's an experience thing. And look, no one's perfect, but I really feel like Zoe could have done better for that could have defended that a lot better, especially with the height difference.
That's exactly where you would have wanted a Kate Taylor on the line, or, even Michaela Foster. That's what Jonathan's saying, is like someone like Michaela Foster, she knows how to position herself. She reads the play, and, even Kate Taylor, also is just so much better at reading plays and getting the advanced positioning. She should have it was a little bit of a ball watching situation where she didn't really challenge her at the right angle. She could have.
It is what it is. Everybody makes mistakes.
Oh, I mean, this is football. That's the point of the game, is to like snag a goal any way you can. And yeah, that was a tough one to watch, because you're like, oh, if you just move like 6 inches this way, and you could like shut them down, and they make sure they don't have the positioning. But it's real time, and it's real fast, and all these things are happening, and yeah.
Another player who's coming to the fore is Emma Main, and she had some beautiful touches in that Sydney match. There was one in particular where she split 2 Sydney midfielders right down the middle. It was just like, wow, that is fantastic to watch. So kudos to Emma Main. Like, I think she's been, I think having the imports and the internationals around lifts the level of training and professionalism, and other players, like Emma and so on, are learning from that, going, wow. And so their game is, game sees game.
She just feels aggressive, the way she just kind of cuts through these lines, and she dribbles through, and I'm like, yes, go, 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 like she's just not just looking for the little dainty pass back. It's like, okay, let's just take this thing and drive it, and see who commits and how we can pass right by them.
I think that's kind of the idea behind small ball, because we're not playing only small balls. I kind of feel like we play short passes, and then someone like Emma Main, Alyssa Wynnum notices the gap, and then they play that. Some of our through balls have been absolutely fantastic this year, whether we've scored from them or not. So knowing when to suddenly switch and pick that pass, that long pass, I think I've enjoyed watching that, whatever the outcome of the actual play is.
Interestingly, the other teams have picked up on how good Macy Fraser's through balls are. Where she was slicing and dicing through the midfield, now the opposition, like, we're going to, they understand they need to mark her a lot tighter. So we're not seeing her get quite those same passes. But I think with Isabel Cox, she attracts attention, which makes space for those players to be doing, to be making those runs, Macy and Alyssa and so on, those smaller in stature players whose feature of their game is that clinical and that quality passing through the lines. So I think that's where Cox will come into her own.
Tell us about the players of the match for each game that we decided.
We got Speckmeyer for the first game, and then it was really hard to choose the player of the match for Friday. We listed through so many people and then decided on Isabel Cox, because when she came on, our attacking prowess just picked up, and she did some amazing work. There was one time when she passed and she really should have shot, but that's, it is what it is. No, she was a game changer, so it was good to see her.
And literally, there was like just a little beam of light that separated Isabel Cox from Michaela Foster, because they were both fantastic. But Isabel, as you say, Holly, Isabel Cox's momentum and her assertiveness on the offense, really just, she was fantastic.
There was one point where there was a defender chasing a ball that was going towards the goal line, and she managed to get like the wrong way around the defender and get to the ball first. It was great. Beck Slate was another person we were considering. She also had, I think, a really good game. But yeah, they were just crowding people out. When Macy Fraser got the ball at the top of the box, there were three of them. Immediately, there were three of them on her. So she just couldn't shoot.
She didn't have any room at all during that match. Yeah. She and there was just like giant people around her. I don't know. It just felt like she was this little person, and there were these big people who were like, I'm gonna get the ball.
And I think, and I think that's maybe something that the Knicks need to think about. Yeah, and that's why having Isabel Cox come in is so good, because she brings height. Because Macy Fraser, Mickey Robertson, Annalie Longo, maybe not so much, but they're all their height. And this is something that the Knicks struggled with the last couple of years. We didn't have the height. We were always out-heighted by the teams. But this year we've got a lot more height, and we're there. But yeah, I was surprised when I met Macy. I was like, man, she's short. Like, she is small, but man, can she play football? So
yeah. I mean,
anyway,
I mean, height is not everything, but it does help sometimes, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So the girls have the women have a few days off. They currently got their feet up. Yesterday they were at Bondi Beach. So they're hanging out. They played Brisbane on the 7th in Brisbane. What are your predictions? What are you thinking?
I'm going to go. So who knows? We can beat Brisbane, but we've been struggling on the road. We've had one win on the road, and everything else has been a loss. The Sydney FC game, that one maybe you can chalk up to just it's Sydney FC. But the Adelaide loss was disappointing. I felt like we should have been able to get points against Mariners, especially because we had recently beaten them in the friendly, as much as that's worth. I think we should be beating Brisbane. We beat them last time, didn't we?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's traveling. Again, it'll be hot in Brisbane and humid compared to New Zealand, but we should be beating them.
It's a bit like the Adelaide game. We kind of think you can look at the table and look at their recent run of form and go, this should be a Knicks. And then it's like, don't say it.
We're going to lose 10-0. Okay, that's it. I'm going to unjinx it by saying we're going to lose 10-0. We're going to set the. Actually, I don't think that is. There was a lot of talk about record score lines after in the men. City absolutely thrashed Brisbane 8-1, which I think was the record or equal record for the men's competition. I think the women's competition has some higher score lines than that, but yeah, okay. We're going to set a new record score line by losing to Brisbane. You heard it here first, people.
Okay, let's put that in the bank.
That's crazy psychology, Ollie. All right. So yeah, let's win. Let's beat Brisbane.
Yeah.
Any changes to the starting lineup?
So Foster came over. She was somebody who came by as well, Riley Foster, and we also said hi to Tiana Javer. So they both travelled, which was good. So I'm assuming the idea is that she'll be back. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think we'll see the start of Isabel Cox?
Yeah, I'd hope so.
Yeah. I hope so too. And it's no offense to anyone on the team, but her ability is just better. It's just better, and Breslin started with the hiss and a roar, and she's kind of, she's okay. She's playing football. And Mania Elliott, who's only 18, started really well. But, it's a long season of professional football. And I just think we need someone of Isabel's capability and professionalism to come in and set the tone from the kickoff to the end of the match and just hold everyone accountable to that. Because Flea can't do that on her own in the midfield.
Yeah, I'm still a hope believer. I think she I think she is aggressive and has a winning mentality, and that's not to be underestimated. I think Kiwis need to learn a little bit more from this gritty style. Even though it can, yeah, let's just say that.
Well, what was interesting is like when we did play, it was a couple of weeks ago, and Temple put Macy Fraser up in a false 9 position, which left Speckmeyer and Breslin wide on the wings to get more ball and to be more creative in their play, and then Foster was moved up to the midfield. But maybe that's what we need to see a little bit. I think if we can do that and be a little bit more creative in our positioning and who's playing where to release them, that would be great. I think Hope does have a lot of, she's a good footballer, but I just don't know that she's getting the delivery that she needs, or this, I don't know.
I mean, it's a 22-game season now, plus finals, so people are going to come on and off the boil for different reasons. I think look, there's some players we haven't seen, but we don't have any like bad players, right? Like, so we've got people we can bring on, and even if their form isn't like fantastic at that moment, they're still good players,
Yeah, absolutely. We can go into every game somewhat confident that we will at least get a draw. That's kind of our minimum. Is like we can at least get a draw. Let's win this thing. Yeah, and Paul Temple, coach, came out on Instagram and he was like, this is a results-based industry. This is a results-based thing. We need to get results and we have to start putting these away. So he's firing up for that, which is fantastic to see, and hopefully that is contagious amongst everyone.
Yeah, we just got to do something about our away form.
Be careful. Don't get too much sunburn. Wellington Phoenix.
10-0 Brisbane. You heard it here first. 10-0 Brisbane.
Look, I mean, we're still third on the table.
This is it. This is it. Like, it's like you can't be like, because we're doing so bloody well. It's like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1-0 loss to look. So I use an app called Footballogy, which you can track the games you went to. And I'm going to get to 70 games this season across the pro and semi-pro levels, which I'm very proud of. But anyway, it brings up memories. And 12 months ago, we played Sydney FC technically at home. It was 2 years ago. It was in Wollongong, and we lost 5-0. And yesterday we lost 1-0 and could have potentially come away with some points for a point. We beat them earlier in the year, although that was maybe a bit of a fluke that we did manage that. The football gods had smiled upon us. But, that's a lot of progress.
Absolutely.
100%. I mean, this is a team of that can win. Yeah.
So just quickly, looking around the rest of the league, just a couple of things that we need to be aware of. The Victory got Chidiac back. So Alex Chidiac is back at the Victory, which means that everyone needs to keep an eye on the Victory because they've been pretty haphazard without her, and who knows how that's going to go. Newcastle Jets are tracking okay. The dark horse I think we need to watch out for is the Wanderers. Wanderers won last night. They beat Western United in a very classy game, and Wanderers are looking good. Like Wanderers
They beat Victory. Even when
Victory.
Chidiac came on for the last,
That's
I don't know,
right.
maybe half an hour or something, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
No, they beat Victory. So, yeah, Wanderers have suddenly picked up after a pretty shocking start.
I think that they need to be on people's radar because Wanderers could be at least top 6, if not top 4 at the end of the season, possibly, depending on how their form goes. Canberra beat Western United. That was the other match. So yeah, just keep an eye out for the Wanderers. They could be an interesting thing. So Holly, you're going to the next game in Brisbane. Denise, you're going to be tuning in?
Of course.
Funny story. David Dome tweeted that he missed the Phoenix matches because his internet provider wasn't working. He's only missed 3 games in 12 years, and that was the Sydney games, one of them. And the reason was because he was with the opposition to his internet provider is not the one that sponsors the Knicks. Just saying, I won't say who the other company is, but he's not with Spark. So there you go.
He was mad. Like, he was really mad on Twitter. It was funny.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 degrees, and I should try and have Spark, but I have 2 degrees, and I always blame them, for a bad, it gets chunky in the 80th minute for me, 70th, 80th minute, and then I realized actually it's my computer hooking up to the TV that it's RAM or something is just like overheating from a bad fan. And I would like to blame my service provider, but 9 times out of 10, it's actually my computer.
So it's the 31st of December. Tomorrow is New Year's. What is your Wellington Phoenix New Year's resolution? What's your wish for this year? Let's start with, I'll go first. So my New Year's wish for the Phoenix is that the men make the grand final and that the women stay where we are and finish 3rd on the table. No, it's a wish. 2nd. Let's finish 2nd on the table. Men to finish 1st, women to finish 2nd.
Remember, we'll jinx it.
Oh, sorry.
The women will get the wooden spoon and the men will get the wooden spoon, which actually, to be fair, is what some people were predicting at the beginning of the season for those teams anyway. So yes, anti-jinx, you heard it here first.
That's kind of like the most Kiwi thing ever, is to say like the most horrible thing that could happen to the team so that, it's all relatively better. My Nixmas would be to show up to more matches. All the matches left are in the smaller venue, and to make some noise, and so that they can feel it more on the pitch. Sometimes I feel like, oh, like this, and so to be on top of the action and to see it all, is and with lots and lots of friends, and to convert many more people, especially now that they're winning, to watching these matches.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's our New Year's wish, that the Knicks do well, the Knicks don't do well, but overall we just get a whole lot more people excited and turning up and making noise, because that's ultimately what counts. So thank you for joining us through this year. We'll start again 2024, so we're 9 rounds through. So there's another 13 rounds of football to go for the Knicks. So we'll be here till May, because that's when the finals are. So stay tuned, like and subscribe. You know where we are. We're on all the socials, and have a fantastic and happy new year.